that I don't like it when I'm made to do something. And probably you're the same way. You know, like, come on. Who likes to be told what to do? Not many people. Yeah, I mean, it's different if you're in a situation where you've consented to be told what to do, right? Like if you're an employee, you know your boss is going to tell you to do stuff because that's just life and that's just how it is. But what if you're using your computer and out of nowhere it tells you, oh, hey, by the way, you're upgrading to Windows 10 whether you like it or not. I know it's an old story and it's not like a brand new idea that, oh yeah, by the way, you're going to be made to upgrade to Windows 10 whether you like it or not. But there's a way to stop it. And we've had a problem with it actually here at the radio station. One day I walked in and one of our computers was on Windows 10 and it really shouldn't have been because obviously we run pretty sensitive equipment. We run programs that are very sensitive, especially time sensitive. There's a lot that we do here that if something gets messed up, you know, something goes out of whack, we could be knocked off. I mean, that's not likely, but we could at least have some glitches. And no one likes that. Actually, it would take a heck of a lot to knock us off the air, but it sometimes little annoying things happen that we have to deal with, and you know that's just part of running a radio station. I say annoying, but I don't mean it like, oh, I hate doing it. No, it's just that's part of what you do when you're operating a radio station, and that's fine. It's part of the job. It's part of the experience, and I'm sure it's a lot better than a lot of other jobs out there. So I'm not complaining at all. But Windows 10 drives me nuts sometimes, and I'll admit I actually run Windows 10 64-bit on my home computer. And again, I'm not advertising for Microsoft by any means. I'm not advertising for Windows 10 by any means. But the main reason I upgraded was I wanted to be able to use DirectX 12 when it came out. And that's going to go above some people's heads, I'm sure. But DirectX 12 is a graphics API. It's complicated. Basically means some of your graphics are going to have extra features and it's going to be more efficient, supposedly, under DirectX 12, meaning lower spec computers can run higher, better looking applications, maybe possibly. Probably not, but you know that's just how it is. And I wanted to get Windows 10 because you have to have Windows 10 to run DirectX 12. I'm sure there's going to be some hack out there that'll let you run it on Windows 7 later. I don't want to have to deal with that. So yeah, like there's a hack not too long ago that let you run DirectX 11 on Windows XP, and then there was a hack that let you run Halo 2 on Halo 2 Vista on Windows XP, which was really nice. And I didn't need to do that because I already had 7, which technically is based on sort of Vista. It's weird. But what if you don't want to upgrade to Windows 10? That's the point. What if you don't want to upgrade to Windows 10? Well, this is Binary here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240, hotnewstalkradio.com. Check us out on YouTube, by the way. You can watch us streaming live on YouTube. Go to Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube. You should see a little thing that says live now. Click on that. You'll see me talking into a microphone. You'll see the other microphone that's totally vacant over here that I just smacked with my hand by accident. Check us out, Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube, if you want to see a real pro at his job. That's me, Russell, talking into a microphone here at Hot News Talk Radio. Independently run, independently operated. We're just a bunch of guys who happen to really like radio, and we're not attached to any broader corporate entity, and that's what allows us to do what we do. I really like it. So you don't want to understand. You don't want to install Windows 10 on your computer. You don't want to be told to install Windows 10 on your computer. You want to stick with what you got. You got Windows 7. Maybe you've got Windows 8. You don't want to upgrade to Windows 10 for whatever reason. Maybe you don't want it because you're worried about the telemetry, right? You're worried about it spying on you. That's a legitimate concern. Maybe you don't want it because you're worried about maybe your programs won't be compatible. That's a legitimate concern. If it upgrades and suddenly you're running, say, legacy software, like something that's meant to run on Windows 98, and then suddenly Windows 10 comes up and you're all confused, you're like, what's happening? Well, there's a good reason for why you wouldn't want to upgrade. Problems happen a lot, especially in computing. Incompatibility is incompatibility, and a lot of the time you can't fix that unless you want to like open up a VM and run Windows 7 in that, and that's just counterproductive. You may as well just get another computer at that point. So what can you do to stop it? I'm sort of jumping around the topic. Well, there's a little application, and I'm not advertising this, and I'm not responsible if it screws up your machine, but there's a little application. I think it's about 800K. It's very small. It's not even a megabyte. It's just barely under a megabyte, which is 1,024 kilobytes, by the way. depending on who you ask. If you ask Apple, it's 1,000, but Apple's dumb. You can actually run this program called Never 10, which will let you not run Windows 10. It doesn't stop Windows Update from running, which is also nice because you need to have your security updates. That's another thing. Windows 10 will only work if you have Windows Update installed and running, and you really need to have Windows Update running because otherwise you're not getting key security updates, which means you're vulnerable to all sorts of little pernicious, nasty little programs that can get into your machine and steal your credit card information or whatever. So you really need to have that running. It's a good idea to have your Windows up to date, but you don't necessarily want it as up to date as Windows 10. And yeah, another thing, I just got texted, maybe you don't have enough RAM. Technically, Windows 10 won't install if you don't have enough RAM because it actually does check your system and see what your specs are before it installs. But the thing is, meeting the minimum system requirements and meeting what you would want to run your system at is a whole nother thing. Like if you've ever tried to play a game and you're running it at the very minimum system requirements, it's probably not going to run very well. You're going to have to change a lot of settings so it doesn't look nearly as good as it should. So yeah, you get what I'm saying. It might meet the minimum system requirements. You might have enough RAM, but it's not going to run as well. Like you can run Windows XP on a machine that has 256 megabytes of RAM. That's the minimum requirement. I think minimum is actually 128. It's not going to run well. You're not going to have a whole lot of programs open. It's not going to run very well at all. Yeah, so that might happen with you with Windows 10. I'm not sure what Windows 10 requires. I'm wanting to say it's 2 gigabytes. I could be wrong. They're actually upgrading the spec, by the way. They're actually updating the minimum system requirements here soon for what you need to have on your machine, interestingly enough. So, yeah, that's kind of a weird thing that they're doing there. But, yeah, just download this little tiny little program. It's called Never 10. You can just do a quick Google search for it. It's from Gibson Research, I'm wanting to say. Possibly named after William Gibson, the author of Neuromancer. Very good book. Very interesting proto-cyberpunk book. The minimum system requirements, by the way, right now for Windows 10 is a 1 gigahertz processor, 1 gigabyte of RAM for 32-bit, which you really shouldn't get, 2 gigabytes of RAM for 64-bit, 16 gigs of free hard drive space, which is going to increase as you keep using it, and a Microsoft DirectX 9 compatible video card or onboard video device, which you really ought to have already anyway. So yeah, that's Windows 10 for you. Maybe you don't want it, so get Never 10 if you don't want it. All you have to do is click on the little button that says Disable Windows 10 Upgrade, and you've got it. It's actually super easy. One browser that we like here a lot at Hot News Talk Radio that we've used pretty often, in fact, we're running it right now on a few of the machines here, is Opera. Maybe you've never heard of Opera. There's not really a good reason for it. It's just it's not really talked about very much because you have the two big browsers. Really, you have the three. Okay, you've got the four big browsers. Like when you think of a web browser, what are you running? Probably Chrome. Most of you are probably running Chrome. Maybe you're running Internet Explorer if you're on Windows and you just haven't bothered to download another browser. I've always joked that the only reason you need to use Internet Explorer is to download Firefox or Chrome, whichever you want to use. I use Firefox most of the time. So it's sad to say, and it's really insulting to Internet Explorer, which is really not the worst web browser on the planet. But you know, that would be Lynx. But you know, that's just how it is. You might even be using Microsoft Edge or Spartan, depending on what version of Windows 10 you're running. If you're running the beta, you're running Spartan. But you probably haven't heard of Opera. Well, Opera is actually being sold for $1.2 billion to a Chinese consortium. It's a consortium of Chinese companies which have just taken a major step towards completion after its shareholders voted in favor of the deal. Yet another swipe the Chinese are making at American economy. Now, that's not like, look, the Chinese are trying to crash the American economy because they kind of need us as much as we need them, which is not very much, but it's more they're getting acquisitions, because if you can acquire a web browser and all the technology that comes with that, that's kind of a big deal, actually. So the Chinese really do need this sort of software, because, yeah, you can build a web browser. Like the Chinese could build a web browser that's based on Firefox because it's open source. Maybe they want something a little bit better. So this consortium is getting Opera. Today's approval is notable because there have been murmurs of discontent about the proposed sale to Golden Brick, a group comprised of, oh boy, Shihu 360, I think, or Kihu 360, one of China's most visible and controversial internet companies, which recently went private in a $9.3 billion deal, listed games firm Kunlun, which owns a 60% share in a gay dating service called Grindr. No, that's not a joke. And an investment firm called Yonglan. Weeks after the proposed offer was announced, Opera CEO Lars Boilesen and CTO Hakan Wieum Lai, maybe, told TechCrunch that the decision to sell was not made by them. So, yeah, they're not exactly endorsing the movement here. It's the proposed deal hasn't stopped Opera from introducing a busy slate of product updates, including, by the way, a built-in VPN, which is virtual private network. Very interesting for its desktop browser and the mobile apps, and an ad blocker built in as well, which makes a lot of people running their websites really mad. Ad blockers are, ad blockers are kind of like that's kind of a touchy subject for a lot of people because most of us use them. Like if you have ad block on your machine, you're blocking ads. The thing is, websites make their money off of the ads. Like you'll see on a website you go to that says, this is an ad-supported website. Please disable ad block if you want to support us, yada, yada, yada. And most of us don't do it. And, it's one of those things because on the one hand, they do need the money to run the servers because it does get expensive. Like, can you imagine if YouTube just didn't make any ad money? It wouldn't exist. It'd be like 2005 all over again. Actually, it'd be 2004 all over again, which is when YouTube didn't exist. So it's just you really kind of need ads on the internet, just like we need ads on radio and TV. But on the one hand, we all hate them, right? Like on TV, you get really annoyed when an ad pops up and it's, come on, get back to the story, right? Like on radio, it's not so bad because the ads are the entertainment a lot of the time. Like we produce our ads to be both entertaining and to tell you about the company that we want you to check out or the business we want you to check out, or the LLC or the individual we want you to check out, right? Because we are personally, for the most part, kind of endorsing the companies. Like we wouldn't put somebody on radio that we don't believe in on ourselves, right? But on television, they don't really care. On the internet, it could be anybody. Because if you use Google Ad services, you don't know half the time what ad is being run on your website. So internet ads are a weird thing. And at least we're not living in the era of pop-up ads anymore for the most part. And those flashing like emoticon ads. And the worst ones were the ads which played sounds, right? Remember that? Like you go to the website and it would be this emoticon that would scream at you, telling you to download these free emoticons. Who cares about emoticons that much anyway, right? Like it's not the days of AIM anymore. I'm not opening up AOL Instant Messenger so I can show my friends all my cool new all my cool new emoticons or MSN or whatever. Like, come on, what year is it? And all that kind of died with Facebook Messenger, so you don't get those anymore. But that's why you had ad block in the first place, because the ads were annoying. And now they're kind of not. They're mostly unobtrusive, so maybe disable ad block, maybe don't. It's up to you, because I'll be honest, I have it on. I've got ad block on. And a lot of people do too. Most people probably do too, who are tech savvy enough to turn it on. And that's most people. So I don't know. Ad block's a touchy subject. Do we like ads, and do we like to promote the services we like? Do we like to support the services we like with having ads on? I don't know. I don't know. It's complicated. It's tough. Well, the Chinese, by the way, speaking of the Chinese, are really making a lot of headway in the drone market. I will remind you that DJI, the company which comes out with probably the most popular commercial drone, especially the drones that don't blow people up in Pakistan. The DJI Phantom, one of the most popular drones you can get. There's the Phantom 1, 2, and the 3, and I think they're coming out with a 4 soon. Sky Aerial Services uses a DJI Phantom. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but they actually do use a DJI Phantom. Very advanced drone, very complicated stuff, hard to fly too. It's not easy. I've watched the owner fly it, and it's not easy. You think, oh, it's super easy because it stabilizes itself. Yeah, but you got to worry about, not smashing into things, not going too high so it gets out of range and falls to the ground. There's a lot of stuff at play here. So DJI is a Chinese company, and so is Xiaomi. And Xiaomi's making a lot of headway in the electronics market, particularly the consumer electronics market. Xiaomi's doing some interesting stuff here. Because Xiaomi, that's Xiaomi, Xiaomi, which I'm pretty sure intentionally phoneticizes as show me, like the English word show me. I think that's intentional. But they're really making a lot of headway there. For instance, they're coming out now with a 4K drone, which only costs $460 or $380 for 1080p. Now, that's not too bad at all. One of China's most popular consumer electronics brands today launches its own take, according to The Verge, of the hottest categories in consumer tech, drones. And by the way, the Xiaomi has a phone as well that's reportedly pretty okay. It's called the Xiaomi Red 3 or Redmi 3. And it's, or maybe there's no 3. I'm trying to recall now. I think it's a Xiaomi Redmi. And it's a really, according to the specs anyway, decent phone. And it's pretty affordable too, like in the $200 to $300 range for a high-ish end phone. Not bad. I hear that the wrapper, like the interface, is kind of terrible, but you can always change that by installing CyanogenMod or whatever you want to do for Android, because it is an Android phone, obviously. They can't put iOS on one of those phones. You could, but it'd be very illegal, and they probably wouldn't be able to sell it here. Anyway, one of the key advantages that Xiaomi seems to be touting with this new drone is the modularity, meaning you can interchange different parts and such, and serviceability, meaning you can easily service, you know what serviceability means, of the whole thing. As the camera module is detachable, just like all of the rotors. Wow. The new drone also has a 5,100 milliamp hour battery, which is also easily replaceable. And I will note that these are not like brand new features that only Xiaomi does. The DJI Phantom also has an easily replaceable battery. I think the rotors are pretty easily serviced. So this is just, it's not a copy. It's just an imitation. It's taking inspiration from the DJI Phantom, it looks like, and then applying it to your own product, which is fine. Companies do that. That's okay. Like the Apple One and Apple Two, you'd be lying if you said there was no inspiration at all from IBM, which is Apple's biggest competitor at the time. So it's fine. It's what businesses do. Xiaomi has yet to issue the full spec sheet of the Mi drone, but you can actually check out an inspirational video and a few press shots the company's put out. Basically, it doesn't look like anything special other than just it's a 4-rotor drone. And that's not to say that it's a bad product. It's just you've seen a drone, you've probably seen a drone. You know, it's how drones are. You've seen one, you've seen one. So it's a drone. But it's interesting because now there are a lot of actually kind of reasonably affordable drones coming out. I think about this. A $480 for this 4K drone, that's not that much more expensive than just a 4K camera, like a 4K compatible camera, like the GoPro Hero 3 Black, I'm wanting to say, is not much less expensive than that. So you're getting a 4K camera and you're getting a drone for a actually pretty decent price. So yeah, it's kind of weird actually how that works. Let's see what the price is right now, the GoPro Hero 3. I'm pretty sure it's decently, yeah, $299 for just about $180 more. You're also getting the drone built in, so not bad. That's kind of surprisingly cheap. And I'm noticing this coming out of China a lot, by the way. Noticeably inexpensive products that you think like it shouldn't even be possible that they're that inexpensive, coming out with good specs, good hardware a lot of the time, supposedly not going to blow up in your face when you use them. The Chinese are catching on, and they've been catching on for a long time when it comes to consumer electronics. And you don't have the same brand loyalty that you did back in the day, like when Nokia was around. And that's something I want to talk about, by the way. Microsoft has officially basically killed Nokia. Nokia was the premier phone brand for a long time. You probably remember. If you're younger, you probably don't, because the Nokia phones were the phones, excluding the Motorola Razr. In the pre-iPhone era, you probably had a Nokia phone or you had a Motorola Razr. And Motorola came out with great phones. I'm actually using a Motorola phone right now. I'm using a Moto G. Great, amazing phone, especially for the price. But Nokia was like the phone. They were coming out with so many good designs, lots of wacky designs, and they were extremely robust. That was the thing about Nokia phones. Everyone jokes about it. You can't break a Nokia phone. And they had that reputation at the time, too. They were basically indestructible because Nokia had this really rigorous QC process, quality control process, where they would drop it like 1,000 times. If it broke, they'd throw it out and start with a new design. Nokia phones were really good. And unfortunately, the smartphone era really didn't help out Nokia any. They had Symbian, which was a good operating system in the smartphone era.